is up.
I'm with Death Murder-O and Catastrophe. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves, but the Roddenberry Entertainment folks, let's start with you.
I'm Trevor Roth. I run Roddenberry Entertainment and executive produce most of the Star Trek stuff.
I'm Kelsey Goldberg, and I'm a creative executive at Roddenberry Entertainment and a producer on the Does It Fly podcast.
I am Hakeen Oluseyi, and I'm a co-host of the Does It Fly podcast.
And I'm Tamara, Krisnky, and I'm also a co-host of the Does It Fly podcast.
And now I want to talk about the Does It Fly podcast. Tell me about what inspired the Does It Fly podcast, and for those that may not be familiar with it, let's hear a little bit about it.
Trevor?
You want me to do
That's
this?
your cue.
Yeah. All right, this is my cue. You don't have to hear me talk for long, but Gene Roddenberry, the lovely Gene Roddenberry, no longer Gene Roddenberry, but we learn from him daily. When he was making Star Trek, he was really into having the Enterprise really be based on science. Sure. He wanted it to be something that was extrapolated from our real world. And in doing that, and throughout Star Trek's history, there's been a long tradition of making sure that even if something is made up and coming from the ether of imagination, it is somehow tethered back to our real world, our real physics, our real engineering, things of that nature. And that was not untrue of the original Enterprise itself, which was created by Matt Jeffries. And the one major desire for Gene was that it flies, that it really feels like it could fly. And from that idea, we really brought the tradition full circle by saying, hey, let's see if other things fly in the world of fantasy and science fiction and all the other conceits and properties that we love, and put them on trial a little bit and investigate their whether they make sense scientifically, whether they're following their own rules and all that kind of stuff. And really, that's what Does It Fly is about.
So we're talking about like other properties to see if their vehicles or whatever actually work in physics in our real world.
That's correct. We are really trying to, and Star Trek as well, by the way. We'll put anything up there, and we encourage our fans and listeners to actually suggest viewers, video, ideas. But yeah, we're willing to talk about anything and everything. And these guys, I leave it then to them to actually have to do the job. But Tamara takes on the pop culture expertise. Mr. Man over here takes on all the science. And between the two of them, they make it happen.
It's absolutely incredible. So out of all of these, the science, let's talk about the science aspect of this, because Star Trek has always been a step ahead, and I feel that like a lot of the technology we even have now was based for things we saw then. With that being said, are there any either vehicles that, or from pop culture or sci-fi, that you're surprised that they actually would work?
Yes. The one where it's the new show where they send the visors down first.
Oh, Three Body Problem.
Three Body Problem. Yeah. When I got to investigating neurotechnology, I realized that this is something that could actually exist in the future in some form, right? We can sense what's happening in the brain. We can send signals into the brain. They're already helping people therapeutically using these brain-computer interfaces, these neurotechnologies. So yeah, something like that in some form could potentially exist.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, bringing the pop culture element to it, can you talk about some of the projects that interested you the most to test the science against them?
Sure. Well, so the way that we frame it is, as we said, Hakeen does the science. And then when I think about what good sci-fi is or what good fantasy is, it's about world building, right? So the creators will put a what if out there as an invitation to an audience to come along on a journey. And then they have to stick to their own rules that they create. Wow. So whenever we have a device or a technology or a conceit that we're looking at, whether it's a lightsaber, whether it's a visor, whether it's, we just did an episode that released on the original Twister, looking at the Dorothy balls and how they work, do they stick to their rules? And also, how does that help tell the story? Like, how are they using that device or conceit? Not just to get like, oh, that's super cool, but also, what's the theme we're looking at? What's the storytelling we're doing?
I want to ask about the new Twisters, because Glenn Powell shoots up fireworks into the tornado. Is that something that would actually, I guess you would know,
Well, they've already adapted. They're using drones, though, not necessarily fireworks, but they're shooting things into the tornado and gathering data. It's something that's happening.
Not gonna lie, these drones, they're pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Like I've seen some crazy stuff over football stadiums.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where I'm like, are these like alien spaceships that are coming down? Right? Like, come on, we've all had that thought. So, in these, are you a little impressed with what they can do nowadays? And because I feel like that drone technology just advanced so quickly.
Well, here's the thing. I was kind of like privy to it. So I became a TED fellow, over a decade ago. And there was a guy at MIT who was involved in it. So I got to see these early videos of that type of research, a lot of robotic stuff, a lot of drone stuff. And so immediately my mind went to, where does this lead? I didn't think replacing fireworks. I thought more like what we're seeing around the world now in warfare.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. Now, I have a question for you because you're the science expert.
Yeah.
I've always wondered this. So Superman can fly, obviously. I should say obviously.
Obviously.
Superman can fly. So when I see him fly in movies and in other forms of entertainment, he just zooms off super fast. But when I see an airplane in the sky, it seems like it's moving at a snail's pace. So if Superman were real, would he be able to fly that fast? Would I be able to see him in my naked eye flying as fast as he does in the movies?
So the thing is distance, right? So when something is very far away, it appears to be moving more slowly. So I used to fly rockets, right, into space to do research.
Did I mention that he's brilliant and has like 9 degrees?
I'm
and
talking
knows
to a
everything?
rocket scientist.
Right. But man, there's a difference between the big ones that you see. They sit there like kind of shake and slowly go up. Dude, sounding rockets, which are smaller, I mean, those things are just, man, they're so damn fast. That's Superman. So Superman is powered by a sounding rocket.
You just answered that. You have no idea how many people I've posed this question to, but now I have a legitimate answer to tell them. That is amazing. Now, for producing this show, I wanted to ask you guys, what's the craziest thing that you learned about that maybe you didn't know prior to going in?
Oh, so much. There's a reason why I have a career in science fiction.
Sure.
I don't math, and math is important in science, so I don't really science. And hearing the explanations that Hakeen gets and the things where I'm like, well, there's no way this flies. And then he talks about the TARDIS and like, well, it follows the logic of a black hole. And also there's this thing called a white hole. And then I go to a bar and I'm like, so did you know there's this thing called a white hole? And everyone's like, you're brilliant. I'm like, of course I am.
What is a white hole?
A time reversed black hole. And
Obviously.
Duh.
Of course.
Of course.
I mean,
I'm at Comic-Con. Of course I should know that.
But this is what I love about sci-fi, right? And I think it's really what kind of caught me from the beginning. So I grew up kind of equally split between performing and between loving science, blowing things up in my kitchen and whatnot, and clearly decided I was going into performing arts, not science. But what I love is when all of these things come up in fiction, in narrative, and you're watching and you're like, maybe you fell asleep in physics class because it's not always so interesting for all of us. But then you see it on screen and you go home and you Google white hole and suddenly you're down the rabbit hole. So
That's a fact.
Entertainment can be an amazing on-ramp for an interest in science. And we don't all have to be scientists, but think about our world. Think about the technology we use every day. Think about climate, all the things that are affecting us. We need to be science literate, and entertainment's an amazing on-ramp to that.
And if I may say, I think that Does It Fly really is just the beginning of a conversation, one that we hope to engage our viewers in, of course, but really it's just meant to start the idea of, let's talk about this, let's explore it, and then go down those rabbit holes of conversations that we love to have here at Comic-Con while we're waiting for coffee or whatever it might be.
I mean, this is the coolest podcast I've heard of. This is incredible.
We agree.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, For All Mankind is a show that I love on Apple Plus, right?
Oh, so
it's
good.
incredible. And
I have so much love for this show.
you
I can't even.
You're looking confused, like, what is this
Oh,
show?
no, I'm in For All Humankind. I'm like, aren't I in that? But I'm in For All Humankind. Not For All Mankind. Yeah.
For All Mankind's so fascinating because it's like looking through a window of an alternate universe, legit.
Yeah.
Because the science of that is taken as if, what if, the Soviets got to the moon first, and how technology would have advanced out of that.
And what if women had been
Yes.
growing up in space from the very beginning? Thank you.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, off my soapbox.
No,
now.
it's
Yeah.
totally. But I mean, I'm assuming you haven't seen the show, huh? Or have you?
No, I have not.
Oh, well.
It's a great show.
It's a great show.
I
You're gonna
will
love
now.
Episode
We will
idea.
do an episode.
We'll do an
Thank
episode.
You
so
will have to watch it. You will love the
Do I get credit for
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I like that. I like that. So for all the folks that are watching this and want to know more about the podcast, where can they find it?
DoesItFlyPod.com. And then we're also on YouTube at Does It Fly Pod and on TikTok at Does It Fly Pod.
Oh, that's incredible. This is going to send me down so many rabbit holes. This is scary. This is the stuff I get into. Like, I didn't know what a white hole was. That's incredible.
The number of
Real
wiki
stuff.
holes you will fall down.
Yeah. So what are some of the other cool things that you didn't think were possible? Then you started watching the science. You're like, oh, this works.
Yeah, and I will actually let you know, by the way, that on the page, if you go to the website, there's also like a ton of extra information that we kind of encourage people to send them down those holes about something that might be just touched upon for a moment in the episode. So it's fantastic.
That's
And
incredible.
on that same tone, what the producers do is I'll mention something, and I'm like, yeah, it reminds me of this thing. I can't remember the name of it, but they find it. And then it shows up in the podcast. So it's not just us talking.
Right.
There's also graphics that illustrate what we're talking about quite often.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, Trevor, I do have to ask some Star Trek questions for you, sir.
Ask away.
All right. So Lower Decks is coming to an end. Coming-
Lower Decks is coming to its 5th season.
5th season. How do you feel about? So it's not coming to an end. It's just coming to a 5th season.
It is coming to a 5th season that may be its end.
Oh, all right.
But we will see. There is always hope and there is always possibility.
Okay, well, let's keep that possibility
Yes.
going because it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
What can you tease about Starfleet Academy?
I can tease that you should come to Hall H tomorrow. and hear more about it. But we're very excited about it. It's been a property that's been actually a very long time coming. Even as early as the days of Gene Roddenberry himself, there were discussions about doing a Starfleet Academy and how that would work. And I'm very excited that we've sort of finally cracked the code on what we think can make a good Star Trek and also be that property with that concept.
Oh, it's amazing. I got to ask you about Section 31 because it's something I've heard a lot about. What can you tease about Section 31 and what are you excited to explore with the lost era of Star Trek?
Do I need to tease anything besides Michelle Yeoh? Is that all I need to
That's
say?
all
I feel like
it
that's
ever
all you
needs
need to
to
say,
be.
I
right?
feel like that's the mic drop.
Like that's
moment.
it, right? And Michelle Yeoh, fine.
Right.
We're so excited about it. We're excited to share it with the world. There are a lot of things are being figured out as to how it's coming, when it's coming, all that kind of stuff. Also, we might hear a little bit about that tomorrow. But
He's such a
it's fantastic.
tease.
She's fantastic, and just a great crew of people.
I have a great idea for a Star Trek episode.
Fantastic. Go.
What if they bring back these two ancient co-hosts of this podcast called Does It Fly, and they go to the holodeck and
Yes, we need
You got to
an
work
in.
that out a little bit. I need some
Yeah.
more, but yeah.
Yeah,
But so
yeah.
far, it sounds fantastic.
Definitely sounds
Exactly.
like
Yes.
a Lower Decks episode, and we're getting into seasons of it.
There you go.
That's right.
I got to ask you another question. It said that we're going to see some cameos in Discovery. Can you tease any? Sorry. Cameos from Discovery.
Yes. What's the question? Sorry.
What can you tease?
Oh, what can I tease? I can tease nothing at all. Sadly,
This is his
I'm
way
not
of
allowed
actually
to say anything.
This is his way of avoiding the question.
That is his
But-
wave away.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a. That's a. If it's out there that's said that it's true.
Oh, so if it's out there that it said it's true, I don't know.
There you go.
I don't know if we want to say that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, look,
Schrodinger's truth.
Yes.
tomorrow you're gonna have some announcements for us. Then
We're gonna have some very exciting announcements.
can you
tomorrow.
tease any of those?
I can't tease any of them, but I can tell you that these announcements, if you're not able to make it to Hall H, will be very, very quickly revved up in the whole world, so everyone will know very shortly.
You guys are absolutely incredible. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
You guys are fantastic.